Hello, everyone. Tamara and Ruth here for your weekly energy update. Ruth, good morning.
Well, good morning, my dear. How are you over there?
Oh, it's snowy here. It was 70 degrees yesterday, and today it snowed, well, overnight. So it's always changing, as our lives are always changing.
That's
Hello to
right.
all of you watching in YouTube land. You know, to the recording of this. Today is October 26th, 2017, and we are here for your weekly energy update. Today is a big day, and I just want to start with what a lot of you probably know. We have a Sun-Jupiter conjunction, and there's sort of the guidance that's out there in the world to capture the essence of this, because the sun is consciousness and Jupiter is learning and teaching and wisdom and expansion of that. So what can you learn? What can you teach? How can you grow today in the light of your own consciousness? Let's just start it that way.
That's a good way to start it.
Yeah.
But I want to take the sun and Jupiter, and I want to give them a little dose of the last part of the moon in Capricorn.
Yeah.
With a little bit of Venus to help us along the way, to balance out some of this high flying energy to some extent.
Yeah.
Because when you put Sun and Jupiter together,
yes,
big energies.
Yes.
And so I want to start with that, a little bit of soberness in terms of our Capricorn, but it feels good. It's earthy.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the Capricorn moon.
Yes, today Capricorn.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We've got a Capricorn moon, and this is, the way that I translate those energies that we have is that there's some ambition in the air. There's a feeling of people wanting to go places and make their lives bigger and feel the sparkle of their influence in the world and their consciousness, their solar consciousness. And yet how do we do that? We build it. We take practical steps toward building that. And so what can we do today? Of course, the moon is going to change signs by the time many people see this, but still, it is a sober Capricorn. I always like to say Capricorn says, what's the bottom line?
That's right. What's the strategy here? How are we going to get there?
It's like there's the dreamer is like, but I want to go here and I want to go there and I want to do all this stuff. And Capricorn's like, how are you going to do it? How much is it going to cost? Who is going to get you there? And I think that these are some questions that may be coming up for people right now.
And that those are some big questions. And with Venus and Libra being in its own sign for a little while, along with Mars. Mars is also in Libra. So Venus being the money, along with Taurus. But it's about how can I find some beauty and some balance in the Capricorn, because we're actually looking at an exact opposition with Moon in Capricorn for a minute, and then with Venus. Yeah. So we're being, I think there's the strategy of how can you use that money in a really beautiful way. How can you balance yourself with others? And so I really encourage us, because when you are talking about the Sun and Jupiter going bigger, it's like having the coattails pulled back. So yes, we're going bigger, but we have to have some foundation underneath this and some balance.
Well, and do you think that's a question that's coming up for people who might be watching this, that there's a sense of people wanting their lives to take on a new dimension? It's interesting, some conversations I've had recently with people have to do with like what they started maybe a few years ago or were working on. They're not excited anymore. They need something new, like a new pie in the sky or a new big goal or something, an elevation of some kind in their lives, something to keep them creatively inspired and going. And the challenge is everything we've set in place, it's like, Capricorn doesn't want to, and I know Capricorn's going to move, the moon is going to move out of Capricorn,
but Pluto in Capricorn is
that's true.
not.
No, that's true. And
That's right.
Saturn is soon to go into
That's
Capricorn.
Right. That's
so
right.
There's this energy of like Capricorn hates waste, and it likes to utilize everything. It's very resourceful, and it likes to plan, and it's very pragmatic, and it likes to see, where am I wasting, and doesn't like to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think that, do you know what I'm saying with this? That there's this feeling with people of wanting something new. Like say you want a new house, but you don't want to discard what you've already created. So there's this interesting pull right now.
Well, I'm glad you said that because you really get to the crux of what's happening. Sun won't be obviously in Scorpio for the month, yes. But Jupiter is going to be here for the next 13 months in Scorpio. So you pose a really, really important situation. The Scorpio basically is going to help that Pluto and Capricorn, because the inventory of our outer life and our inner life is taking place right now. And I think you really hit the thing, that scraping away of all the junk. You see, because the Scorpio, and then you have I like to look at this as a big magnifying glass with the Jupiter. And it's the one that says you got to really look at it, and nothing can be left that is of no use. And we have a lot of useless things in our lives, and that's where the truth telling comes in.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, especially about the inventory. I think also with the Pluto and Capricorn is, that's the furnace. It's like, if you've got trash, here's my furnace. Bring it, throw it here. Right. Because I feel like this issue of what's useful, what is a resource, what is spent, what is empty, what is no longer useful is so important right now, because as people approach changes in their lives, they come up against the things they've already built, what they already have established, and they're holding on, I think, a little bit. I think all of us are holding on a little bit to the old forms. And Capricorn, to me, is so much about form. And Pluto is just saying, hey, you know what? Like you said, we've got to really analyze the forms that we are using for things.
Yeah.
It's funny because you and I were just trying to use a different form to do our video show, and we were like, this is clunky and it's not working, and how is this going to... So that's a great example of uselessness of forms that need to be under the magnifying glass. Like you said, Scorpio has a very incredible eye for scrutiny, and for getting in there, ferreting out what is standing in the way of that expansion that we are seeking. It's funny because I feel myself wanting to go into some of the issues of Scorpio. I know that last week on my radio show, I had a guest, and I've done a couple of shows on the Me Too movement, where people are investigating and delving into their stories around sexual power, sexual abuse, equanimity, things that go deep. In our town,
absolutely,
they just passed a resolution, a non-discrimination resolution. It just got passed. I think last week I talked about it on the show, that we were looking at it. It had been proposed, and it was standing room only in this small town that I live in, so that if there is a trans person who needs to choose which bathroom they go in, they have that choice now, and businesses are not allowed to deny them. And especially what we're thinking of are the young people, the kids, the high school students who are just struggling with this identity, the sexual identity issue. So we have a lot of different people who might be watching this show, but I think Scorpio just will not, our sexual selves are so essential, and they're so part of our identities. And I think that is a part of the Jupiter and Scorpio right now too. Still, it's bringing it
Absolutely.
all out for people.
You bring up the point that these are essentials. These are non-negotiable in terms of who we are, the very essence of who we are. And if nothing else, Scorpio gets to the essence of who each person is. And of course, when we're talking sexuality is life energy. It's the flow of the energy of the very movement of who we each are. So you can't tell somebody you can't be this or you can't be that, because that is who the person is.
That's the essential expression of them. And if we go into the sexual nature, we're talking about the second chakra, which is the place from which we are creating our lives. And it's the identity center. And so in keeping with that, shall we share the cards that we got this week? And I know we will also want to talk about Neptune. So you decide when that's the best moment. Do you want to do the cards first?
Well, it comes right along with the cards. I have a feeling that we picked the cards that will describe it.
I love that. So, and mine are the Aboriginal Spirit Oracles.
That's what I chose today, too.
Oh, God.
Well, I didn't know you were choosing that.
And I got, this is for everyone. So this is going to look, I like the visual of this card, Ruth, balance.
Okay. Absolutely. Now that would be our Venus in Libra.
Well, and can I just point out, it's called balance, but check out the image. It's of imbalance, or it's of like the scales are not balanced in this particular image.
That's right.
So that's where we are looking at equanimity. We're looking at, like you said, Libran issues. What's fair to other people? What's justice for everyone? What are the fairest resolution laws? So that is we are to seek balance through seeing the imbalances in our life right now. And
I'd like to add on to balance. We can never. Everything is always tipping slightly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a gyroscope, and we have to flow with it, because nothing can sit like this in stasis and frozen.
That's right. That's and the way that we move is by the weight sort of subtly shifting in our lives, and we'll suddenly, like, for example, for me, this summer, I suddenly have had a health issue I've had to attend to that was persistent. And at first it was kind of subtle. And then I realized, wow, this is really taking some of my time and attention. Something's out of balance and I can't ignore it anymore. And so that's the kind of thing that I see happening for other people as well, that we have to feel a little bit out of balance in order to know how to get back into balance.
Absolutely. And I'm going to bring my card because it goes right. And we may not want to look at the word called deception.
Tell people your interpretation of that.
Deception means, I think, having to look at both hands. You see, if you look at your balance card, with the scales, this is kind of the same thing. You've got two things. And with two things always, if we have consciousness and unconsciousness, at some point we have to come to understand what's inside and what's being displayed on the outer realm. Everything that we see, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, starts on the inside, and then we get a visual of it on the outer level of life. For example, let's go back to our whole Scorpio thing with the Me Too. As you pointed out, everyone has a sexual, sensual life energy. But if we don't understand how that energy connects with each one of us, we may get Neptunian. This is where Neptune comes in.
Yeah.
We may go, Neptune is both the deepest spirituality but it's also the illusions.
Mm-hmm.
Deception
Mm-hmm.
is right there in the middle of, are you going to listen to the deepest part of yourself that says everyone eventually comes to that oneness? Or are you going to listen to all of the different stories that carry you outside of your own centering? So that's deception for me.
And it's interesting. I have a slightly different take on that, but I was listening to you, and maybe the two kind of come together, because I'm finding that listening to everyone's story and people wanting to tell their stories actually brings us back to oneness. But I think one thing, you can correct me on this, but I feel like what you're saying is it's the judgment of separation through the storytelling that causes
very
us.
very good. You put your very good way
Yeah,
of putting it.
yeah.
Yes, it's the judgment. I love stories because
Yeah.
I think we have to have our stories.
Yeah.
We need to vocalize our stories. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's what you're saying is that underneath, if we can tell stories to heal what we haven't been able to say, we can come back to knowing that regardless of male, female, trans, whatever body we're in, whatever identity we have, we all need have Maslow's, Maslow's
Hierarchy, yes.
hierarchy. We all need to be loved. We all are valuable. Yes. And it sort of comes back to that. But there is a tendency, like you said, with the Neptune right now, there is like a lot of distraction that's happening with people, where they're getting distracted by big stories that they feel call their time and attention, especially in the political realm and with a lot of that stuff that's going on.
The word that comes to me, as you said that, Tamara, is we get caught up. See, the deception is getting caught up in the sensationalism of the thing.
Sensationalism, yes.
Yeah. And suddenly when you read, this one did this one and this did this, there's sort of an endorphin rush and you can get addicted to the sensationalism. That's part of the deception.
I'm really glad that which takes you totally out of your center, like you said, and it takes you, it just skews you, like sometimes I'll watch, stories that come up and they'll poke my buttons, they'll push my buttons a little bit. Certain stories of injustice can really bother me, or stories about the environment going to hell, or I have certain things like child and animal abuse. I can get really upset.
Yes, I agree with some things.
And I can get pulled away from what's the here and now for me right now. And I think that the universe is calling all of us. We'll just call it the universe, but higher consciousness is asking us to be present with our gifts where we are, and not get torn over there to another place. And it's not, there's such a tendency in our culture to say, either I care and I'm jumping in with 2 feet into an issue, or I don't care at all and I'm apathetic. And somehow we can care, but focus on what we can do on the ground right here now.
And that's wonderful that you said that, because each one of us has something that we can contribute, but that has to start with, like you said, with the self. You've got to say, what is my gift to give, as opposed to jumping in with all of these different things that are going on, because each person, and I, my heart goes out and I empathize with the scenarios, but for each person, we each have to come back to center, and that's where the work begins.
Yeah, and that's where the balance card and the deception card come in. Let's look at a couple of our other cards.
All right. I'm so glad, because I got truth is the next one. You see, once Jupiter, let's take Jupiter in Scorpio. Once we are willing to face the stuff that we're facing, because Jupiter says we got to get to the bottom line truth. That, if nothing else, that's one of the big definitions of anytime you find Saturn, Jupiter, wherever it sits in our chart, we have to get to the bottom, the truth, so that everyone can win.
Well, and can I just say, what came up as soon as you were talking about that is that our truth changes sometimes, and so and this is for our viewers, that what's true for you today, do a check-in about the updates of who you are presently and here and now versus 5 years ago.
That's right.
Or honoring truths that were held down to you or given to you from your family of origin, or just a truth that you used to have because there are times, like, this is a very small example, but there's an art center I like to go to, and recently I had the opportunity to go to it was like a modern movie production of a Shakespeare play. And I realized after going to it, although it was very interesting, I was like, Shakespeare used to be my thing. I would memorize whole plays when I was a kid. I was in Shakespeare plays. I loved it. And I realized, I'm not as much into that anymore. That's a truth. It's changed for me. I mean, that's a very superficial thing. But we're talking about the deeper truths of our lives. There are things, our preferences are changing, our tastes we're growing. So
I want you to look at this card a little more. Maybe you can't see it all the way, but the chakras, you see the truth.
Yeah.
And if we use the wisdom of the chakras, you're absolutely right, because if we start at the ground chakra, we check all of our energy centers to see how we are connecting. The way I used to connect as a child at the root chakra is not quite the way I do it as an adult, because I'm more conscious of things. And as an adult, that means I've got more things to be aware of. I have to be aware of my past. But like you just said, you can't live in your past to move toward the future that you're inventing.
Yeah, and since we're talking about the Scorpio energy and the sexual identity, or the essence of us, there may be some identity updating that our viewers are doing right now. All of us are, Scorpio saying, is that really true for you anymore?
That's right.
Are you really monogamous, or are you polyamorous? Are you, I don't know, just anything. It doesn't have to be just about the sexual arena. I also got achievement for people.
Okay.
So guys, look out for, look out for your path to achievement. This is also, I'm going to just say this is an omen, a positive future card, that something is coming to fruition for you. If you're watching this is a week of achievement. And I even want to say, I think the achievement, this is a little bit of a reading, there could be some surprises for you, like an achievement you didn't expect is something that I'm getting around the energy of this card. And I also got, Ruth, I'll just share, I got journey.
Oh, okay.
And one thing I want to say to people is, if we're talking about change and expansion and growth for each of us, there may be an internal or external journey. You're in the process of traveling from one identity to another. I really get a strong message about identity for people this week, that we're going to be really looking at what part of my identity have I been ignoring, or what part is obsolete that I can let go of?
Well, another one that comes to me as you both achievement and journey, if you put Jupiter and Scorpio together and you look at transformation, because when you are doing an achievement, Jupiter being the ability to expand in whatever area of your life is important.
Yeah.
So the real clues, now this is real Scorpionic, to be your own detective is to get your chart and find where your natal Jupiter sits, and then find what house Scorpio, the cusp, and you begin to get some clues as to those areas of your life that are actually shifting. And it's really important, because in this 13 months of Jupiter being in Scorpio, we can get rid of some things And the other thing that, because everybody's concerned with financial kinds of things, Jupiter and Scorpio can help us do that financial building that we seek oftentimes. It can be material in that way. We're looking at the more, you said the spiritual. Well, yes, it is the spiritual, because we have to get down there and look at the things that are covering over who we are, to be able to express our sun and our Jupiter, who we can become, and how we can shine in the world. So
very, very well said. I just noticed when I was looking at these two cards, Achievement and Journey, that the image of the doorway is actually on Journey. That it looks the same. So you see this that goes like that.
Yeah, right.
And then look on this.
Oh, there it is. Yes, it's being mirrored.
It's being mirrored. So when you take a journey through what Ruth, you just said, of what to let go of, what to hold on to, how to expand your identity, the doorway is going to appear on the journey. And, there was a funny thing. I know we're almost out of time, but I just want to say there was a funny thing on Facebook. It said something like, I do like to take my bags to Goodwill after riding around with them in the trunk for a few months. And how many people can relate to that it's like with so many other things, that the baggage that we know we need to let go of, that we sometimes wait and we hold it and we pet it and we're like, it's my baggage, and we put it in the trunk. Then when we have to put something else in, we take the baggage out, and it takes us a while to actually get it to Goodwill.
And I particularly want to give a shout out to the water signs, because because we have, with Jupiter sitting in Scorpio, that is going to affect each one of the water signs, and it's going to affect everybody, somewhere, because everybody has water somewhere.
Yeah.
But in particular, the water sign folks, this is your cards, and I have one card left. Your cards are really speaking to water sign people, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpios, about clearing out. I always look at water as either you can have a clear, beautiful, pristine lake, or you can have a swamp.
Yeah, that's true. And it's the difference swamps are created because there's no running water anymore, right?
And we have to be willing to oftentimes when people clean out, they actually drain water sources.
Yeah.
So I guess we, particularly I can identify as a water person, having to do some draining and not being afraid, but my card helps. It helps the situation.
Relaxation.
Yes. Right. A remedy. Finding something. Once we clear and clean, art making is a very, very important part. And you don't have to be an artiste, like gallery kind of person.
Yeah.
But find something that gives you deep and abiding pleasure, because Scorpio and all the water signs understand this very well. So I think that's a remedy for all of the stuff that we're dealing with. Find something that you can put your heart into.
Oh, let's end the show on that note. That is so great. Find something this week, guys, that you can put your heart into, and it'll be something that is relaxing to your nervous system. It'll, maybe energizing, but also relaxing and nourishing to your inner self. Well, I really enjoyed this show today, Ruth. This was good.
I have too. Yes, indeed.
And everyone, that you can reach each of us for a reading at our respective links below that I always post. Tomorrow on the radio show, we are also talking about the Jupiter energy and things that are coming up for each of you. So join me on the radio show, 12radio.com, 10 a.m. Pacific. Have a great week. And we would love it if you liked and subscribed to the channel. And please feel free to comment and share and comment below. So,
Absolutely. We're
yeah.
looking forward to seeing you.
Yes. Bye, everybody.